I don't want to grow up. I want things to stay the way they are.
Can't stop time, Wendy. Whether you like it or not.
Gotcha! You were flying. A little bug did it. I don't think that's a bug.
She is a fairy.
Are you Peter Pan?
Were you expecting someone else?
Da, 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 da. You sound insane. You realize that? Yeah. The whole world gone crazy. Seriously? It's showtime.
It's a new movie from a man on the Mount Rushmore, the Mount Rushmore of directors, David Lowery. This one comes to us via the OTT service of Disney Plus. It's Peter Pan and Wendy, the topic of discussion on this week's Man. I'm Kent, joined by co-hosts Richard and Brian. Brian, how many times has Coop watched Super Mario and or Dungeons and Dragons in the past 3 weeks?
So I watched Super Mario quite a few times, thanks to the high seas. We had his 10th birthday last week. We did a birthday party on Saturday. 10 years old, by the way. That makes me feel very
Happy
old.
birthday, Coop. Side note.
Yeah.
Big listener, Coop.
Slightly younger than the podcast.
Can you tell Coop to stop sending us 1-star reviews, though?
Yeah,
that'd be nice.
He's not happy about the way you guys talked about Sonic 2. He's not gonna let that slide. Yeah, we had he wanted to have a video game party. My wife, you guys know, super party person, like loves to plan a gathering and a party. Takes it just way too far, usually just kind of over the top. But also, this is like a very, very stressful time of life right now for her and for us, work and other stuff, and that she's dealing with our like church stuff. Anyway, regardless, I was like, I'm gonna help you. I'm gonna save some time with this. I'm just gonna get a video game truck because that's what he wants to do. He wants to play video games with his friends. I'm like, I'll just get a video game truck, park it in front of the house. It'll be fine. That's like $500 an hour. I was like, okay, I can't pull that off, man. It was so much more expensive than I was prepared.
What about going to what's it called? Cidercade?
Yeah, I thought about doing something like that, or even just like main event, whatever. We ended up settling on. It ended up being fine. We like talked him into kind of reducing the guest list down to like 8 or 10 kids, and I just put every TV in the house I parked in the living room, so there was like a 5-screen setup.
And y'all just plugged in a bunch of systems.
Yeah, we borrowed a bunch of. We borrowed everybody's Nintendo
party,
Switches,
man.
basically, so they could all play. Style. Yeah, so they could all play Mario Kart at the same time. They could all play, whatever, Mario Deluxe, things like that. Went really well, but I did. I started the party with. I was like, all right, as everybody's coming in, I'm going to put Super Mario Brothers on the screen, and it was quite a big hit. All the kids were walking around singing, quote unquote, singing the Peaches song. So it was
love it.
It was a good time. It's a good time.
We got a bunch of big movies coming out still. Guardians 3, the much anticipated.
Let's go.
Guardians 3. I guess the end of the Guardians coming out this weekend. And then the Indiana Jones movie's getting a lot of hype. I saw Steven Spielberg commented on that. So we'll have a review of that coming out on the main feed here too. We're talking all-time bad movies on the VIP feed this year. And we have what could be the worst comedy of all time. Ishtar as the topic of conversation this week at the VIP. So make sure you're subscribed for that at madaboutmovies.podcast.com/VIP. Great way to get more episodes from us and great way to support the show. Make sure that we keep doing podcasts. Guys, I got to admit, this was one of the most anticipated, if not the most anticipated Disney remakes for me. Loved Peter Pan growing up. Probably the most rewatched VHS besides the Star Wars trilogy.
Really?
In my household was the original Peter Pan. Probably, I don't know, if Plex or streaming had been a thing and you looked like, how many times have I watched this in the past 3
Your
years, it would have
Spotify
been
Wrapped
like
in
it would have been like
1991.
$695. It was like no, it was like an everyday. I wake up and put on Peter Pan type of thing from when I was 1 until 5, essentially.
Right.
And then when Hook came out, I mean, just took it. I mean, that was the most hyped moment of all time, which we talked about at the VIP on that throwback episode. But man, I was so high on Peter Pan as a kid. This was kind of before the Disney Renaissance truly hit in the 90s. This is like late 80s. And so the only Disney movies to latch onto were the ones that they would release on VHS because they would keep them in the Disney vault. Remember that whole drama? That's a topic for another day, Brian.
Yeah.
But Peter Pan was one of those. And that one and Robin Hood, the original Robin Hood, were the ones that I just attached to the most from those. Maybe it's because they were the most boyish. I don't know if that was the case. The adventure aspect was higher in those, but was super in on this one. Brian, were you anticipating Peter Pan and Wendy, and where do you fall on Peter Pan in general?
I gotta be honest with you. I was only anticipating this because of the director. I liked Peter Pan fine. It was Robin Hood was my go-to of all the Disney movies, and still is to this day. It's the number one. I love Robin Hood. Peter Pan's a classic. I love Hook. Your adult critics, you can suck it. I was so upset to discover that adults hated Hook. I think Hook rules, and I'm gonna stick to that because I was 8 when it came out, and that was just like a perfect movie.
And you're Facebook friends with Rashawn Hammond, so those two things.
That's true. I mean, I've got the Rufio back tat. I mean, it's a lifestyle that I live over here, and I'm all about it. All about it. The deal to me with Peter Pan is just like, okay, we've kind of done this, right? Like, how many? I get the public domain and all that stuff.
Yeah, we got to stop with the public domain adaptation. Same with Pinocchio. Falls in the same category.
Yeah. Yeah, I've gotten to a point where I actually think public domain is a bad thing.
Cinderella,
Yeah, I think we gotta
just wait till Mickey Mouse gets in the public domain next year, Brian.
Yeah,
I think we gotta.
Beatles is going to be brutal too because every movie is going to be just Beatles scored to death.
Yeah, hopefully. I mean, maybe we don't want to get too far into it. I hope Disney wins all those lawsuits. I genuinely do. I know that's bad. Like that's super capitalism of me, but I don't want this. I want to. I think that there's. Maybe there's a reason for copyright laws. I don't know, but
you mentioned that when Winnie the Pooh, Blood and Honey was my number one.
I can't stand that stuff. I hate it so much. I hate that it exists. It's
honestly,
like
it's
total
a
violation to me of like what public domain is supposed to be. Like
yes, it's a
domain.
violation.
The law needs to be updated.
It's a total violation, but also like kind of a hack. Like these dudes are making these movies for like 10 grand and they're just calling them crazy things. And they're making so much money. Yeah. I think it's kind of genius. Like I'm kind of jealous I didn't come up with that idea. Guys, let's make the dumbest Winnie the Pooh horror movie because it's public domain. Like I'm jealous I didn't
let's
come
look
up
up public domain and we can figure something out. I'm pretty sure.
It 50x'd its budget. Made 100K. It cost 100K and made 5.2 million. Good for
Yes. So there you go.
Reese Frank Waterfield.
So
I think there's a room for stuff like maybe niche stuff like that. That's kind of a bit in and of itself, but we got to stop trying to make the Jungle Book movies, guys. You know, like these big.
It's got to be an end at some point.
We have to stop.
Yeah. So that's my deal with Peter Pan. I'd kind of forgotten any details about this movie when I turned it on last night and I saw Jude Law pop up as Captain Hook. I was like, hasn't Jude Law already played Captain Hook in a Peter Pan movie? Like, it really took me a while to figure out.
That was Hugh Jackman.
That was Hugh Jackman. Okay,
yeah.
All right. So it wasn't Jude Law. But no, I mean, I know that this is not, like, Peter Pan has not been overdone nearly as much as Pinocchio has, but it's in that same group to me. We did it, like, the Disney versions is fine to good, maybe very good. I love Hook. If you don't love Hook, you're wrong, but that's okay. We could just leave it there, right? Like, we don't need any more when you add in the dozen or so mainstream attempts that have been done over the last 30 years or whatever.
Remember the one that had clocks really predominant in the trailer?
Yeah. With the I think that might have been
was
the Hugh
Pan.
Jackman one, but I
Yeah,
don't
that
know
was the
for
one
sure.
that.
Yeah.
No
Didn't Joe
one-
Wright do that one, or is that another one that the most boring director on the planet?
I think Pan was the only real
I don't
attempt at
remember.
like redoing Peter Pan.
I think
in a
I've
big
seen
way.
them all.
That's Joe
but
Wright.
I don't know. I don't know it's the real life version of Dylan McDermott.
No,
The only other one
Dermot
was
Mulroney.
Sadly, it's
was
different
Wendy,
one.
the one the guy did Beasts of the Southern Wild did. That's another one you're thinking.
I didn't even see that one because that was right around. I think that's the only one I haven't seen because that was right at the beginning of the pandemic, right? I think I don't know. Everything is
Yes.
running together anymore.
That's the 2015 one, but the clocks one is from Peter Pan 2003. Because I remember it was on the trailer was on.
There's a
Pirates of the
2003
Caribbean.
one.
Yeah, because every time I would go see Pirates of the Caribbean, which was like 4 times because I was 15 and that was the thing.
Not
I'd do.
joking. I had no idea this existed until
Yeah.
this moment.
Yeah, that's the one I'm thinking of. That the whole trailer was just the entire song of clocks with
Yeah.
Peter Pan footage.
Yeah,
What
it's
was
a music video basically.
You know, one of the ones that
Yeah.
was super prominent growing up for me was the stage play with like Julie Andrews. as
Yeah.
Peter-
That was a
Who
huge
was it? Julie
player
Andrews?
in my house too. Yeah,
Somebody.
I think so yeah, I think so. That's who what
God.
I have it remembered as is Julie Andrews. So, yeah, maybe we've both been Mandela affected, but that's what I
Yes.
remember as well.
Well, I mean, I was like 4 when I was watching these things. So I
Sure.
don't. I probably need to go back and rewatch that, and it'll explain a lot of things on how I how I grew, how I ended up. Well, Richard, what are your thoughts on Peter Pan before we dive into this film?
I'm like a perfect hybrid of the two of you in that I too loved the Disney one as a kid. Probably more you're in my age versus Brian, who's probably a little older for it, but like Little Mermaid and Peter Pan were my jams and on, the big white puffy box VHSs. I think they were the only two I owned. Big player. Hook, I was too young for, but still saw it, but it scared me. When I was a kid, I remember being terrified of it. Saw it later on, and then it was like kind of too late. I think if you see it too late, it's like, and then the myriad different versions that have happened at different times throughout the last 30 years. So my point is I'm very much into Peter Pan as a property, but I'm also like Kent, but I'm Peter Panned out like Brian. So right there with you.
Yeah, I think what intrigued me the most about this one was the director. And
Yeah.
I'm in on okay, we can do Peter Pan again if we have a fresh take on it, a new approach on it. If the approach isn't let's just remake Peter Pan, I think I'm on board. And I think David Lowery's track record with Disney alone and the way Pete's Dragon was received. And Pete's Dragon actually made money, Brian, which I didn't know. Apparently it made money. It didn't make a ton, but it did well for them.
Yeah.
And basically, as soon as that one was done, they're like, okay, what else you got? And started working on this one and worked on this script for a long time before they felt like it was in a place that they could do it. Mainly because of how racist the first one was.
Right. Yeah.
And it's like, okay, if we do an adaptation of this, true to Disney fans or what they would expect this to be, how can we make it not racist? So that was a lot of the work. And, obviously trying to stay faithful to that Disney film, but also do something new and different with the story and characters and all that stuff. So there's a lot of thought put into this, delayed by the pandemic, eventually got around to it. By the time they did, essentially Disney's entire strategy had changed on how they do things, how they release things. This one disappointed me as being a Disney Plus streaming only because I was like, man, these flying scenes would have been awesome in a theater. Would have loved to see that. So I just thought the scale of this one was made for a big screen. But I felt like this one really, really could have been served better by being on a big screen. Having said that, let's dig into the review here. What I liked about it was how it took inspiration from the original Peter Pan in the design of the characters without fully going in on we're just doing those characters. Like some of the costuming was the same, essentially the look and of like they took the animation and said, let's just cast people that kind of look like this, which I thought was especially for John and Michael, the two kids. I was like, this is like super eerie, how like basically true to life of how I would have imagined this to be if it was live action as a child. And weirdly, Jim Gaffigan as Mr. Smee looked like the cartoon perfectly. Maybe that's why he got cast in that role, but I thought that was pretty dead on. I liked that. Like, okay, let's take a look at the original Peter Pan, the one that we all grew up on. What can we take away from that into this new one? And I think the design of the basically of those characters, right? It's seeped into our being, our subconscious at night, right? Of how we view what we want those characters to be. So I thought leaning into that, instead of going the Hugh Jackman Pan way, where it's like, all right, we're bringing in a production designer and look at these crazy cool costumes and look how, like I felt like they had good costumes, but it was still inspired by the original, but it wasn't like the Dumbo movie where it was just fully doing the original. So I thought the cross section between the Loweryism and the Disneyism, I loved in this aesthetically. Now, as for the movie itself, good, not great, right? I think that's how I feel about it. I thought there were some great moments. To your point earlier, Brian, I'm not sure if it was a miscast, but something about Jude Law didn't work for me as Captain Hook. I thought he was good. Yeah. I don't know if like somebody else could have been better. I don't know if he was inspired too much by oddly Dustin Hoffman's performance in Hook or on the kind of energy he brought to that. But I don't know. I just wanted something more from that character. And maybe if we had gotten that, it would have really taken this to a new level. But what I liked about this was it was a completely new, fresh take on a Disney property and had some real genuine heart and soul put into it. This was not a cash grab. This wasn't an assembly line movie. And you can see that and feel that in it. I felt that. I don't know if you guys did, but I think like visual effects wise, there's some stuff that doesn't work quite as well. And maybe it has to do with, okay, this is going to be Disney Plus. So we're not giving you the money to quite do these as good as they could be. I thought story wise, how they laid it out, I thought the script was nice. And I thought aesthetically, this thing was really pretty, just super pretty. What about you, Brian?
Yeah, this is kind of an odd one within David Lowery's filmography. I feel like at this point, it's and he's not a super prolific director. He's still pretty young in his career, so whatever. That's part of maybe in 5 or 10 years, this won't feel like an outlier to me. It kind of felt like it was made with about 80% effort, if I'm being honest. I think the aesthetic is kind of cool. I'm with you, Ken. I thought it was a fun sort of adapting the Disney version of this. What is it, like 1953 or something like that? Trying to adapt that version while also sort of incorporating, in theory, like some of the book, but really, I think more just like the dozens of interpretations of that book to this point. Kind of glomming those things together was an interesting deal. I liked a lot of the set design. I thought a lot of the visual effects were pretty solid.
I thought the crocodile scene was really well done. That visual effects was really well done.
For sure.
I thought the thing visually effects wise that didn't work to me was Tinkerbell in general. Yeah,
Tinkerbell as a whole was kind of a little bit off in this one. I love David Lowery, and I'm going to be excited for his next film. Even if I hated this, which I don't, it would not make me unexcited for whatever he's going to do next. I think that he is somebody who is capable of making a masterpiece at some point. I think he's an incredibly talented director. It did just feel a little bit like this was sort of a pandemic project, and sometimes that some of those have turned out okay, have turned out well. This one felt like maybe 80% effort is unfair, but like it didn't feel like as inspired as I was hoping that what David Lowery would bring to this story wasn't all there for me, unfortunately. And so, you know, there's some stuff that I thought was cool. I'm with you in that it wasn't just. I'm really glad that it wasn't just like basically a shot for shot -1 scene remake of the 53 or whatever Disney animated movie. Adding some different story elements was cool. I liked the crocodile scene, like you mentioned. The concept of you know, Captain Hook and Pan having, spoiler alert, having
a prior relationship.
Yeah, thought that was cool. I don't know if that's in the book or not. If I've read the book, it was so long ago I don't remember. I thought some of that stuff was really nice and added to the story. It just wasn't a wholehearted movie the way that I expect from David Lowery. But also, to be honest, like I think 2 out of the 4 kid cast members were not good, and that always that hurts the vibe. I'd love to talk about Jude Law too, but I thought Ever Anderson, who plays Wendy, was very good, or at least good. And Alyssa Wapatanek, I probably butchered that really bad. Wapanatak was as Tiger Lily. I thought she had really great presence. She's not in the movie very much, but I thought she had really good presence. You know, Tinkerbell, I didn't think was so good, and it's unfortunate, especially I never like dunking on kid actors, especially not so good from Peter Pan. Not a lot of stage presence and charisma from that kid, unfortunately, and it's kind of hard to have. It's kind of hard to get a good movie when the titular character is just kind of bland and not a great performance.
You know, if he wasn't that great, imagine being David Lowery, and we know his aesthetic, like what he looks for.
Sure,
that's the best kid he could find. You know what I'm saying? Like imagine the lengths that they went to just to find him.
Right. No, I mean for sure. It's a. I'm watching. Just spoiler alert for my weekly recommend. I've been watching this show on Netflix called Sweet Tooth. The 2nd season just dropped for that. Forte was in the pilot a couple years ago and stuff. Yeah. And the kid in that, his name's Christian Convery, is really good and plays this character really well. And so I binged a couple episodes of last night. I turned the movie on. I watched the end of the basketball game. I watched like the last half of an episode of Sweet Tooth that I was binging, and then I popped on Peter Pan and Wendy, and I was just like, gosh, this kid is so bad compared to the kid in the show that I think is really good. And maybe that didn't help, but your movie, if it's got a bunch, and I'll turn it over to you, Richard. I know I've been ranting forever, but like if your movie is based around child actors, the child actors have to be good. And it's a risky play because so many of them just aren't good because they're kids. And that's the way it goes sometimes. But this one in particular, I mean,
well, we can dunk on Tinkerbell because she's 33 or 23 and went to Harvard. So
okay.
Wrecked,
not good. To be fair to her, not put in a very good position. I think Peter Pan put in a good position, not a good actor, or at least just he's a kid. The Tinkerbell, that was I felt like that was the worst part of the story.
That was the worst part. That was the use of
stuff.
that. How do we get Tinkerbell involved? I mean, there are some payoff moments with, you know, fairy dust and things like that, which we can get to. I mean, spoiler alert for a 53-year-old.
Yeah.
Film,
yeah. What are we going to
do? You know, walking the plank, the payoff there with the fairy, like there's some use for Tinkerbell, but like, dude, Tinkerbell's the most marketable, recognizable character in this movie. Like, you've got to have something bigger, better for that, I think. And to me, that was a disappointment.
Yeah, I agree.
I mean, just in general, just all around, character design wise, but just all around needed to be done better. What did we think of the way the pirate ship and the pirate stuff was done? Because I thought the setup was pretty rough. Like, let's get to Neverland was pretty rough. But once they get there and Captain Hook is kind of inserted into the story, I thought the movie really sailed, guys.
Got him. Perfect.
Wow, what a pro. Leonard
I
Maltin,
love the
eat your
Pirates
heart
of the
out.
Caribbean type aspect to that. I thought that was aesthetically what I wanted this to be. And I thought there were some big, really fun moments. The moment when Peter Pan jumps down and like slices the sail, you know, like there's some really epic shots in this movie.
Yeah, I mean, there's like, to your point earlier, there's Lowry moments where like you go, oh, that's why you get David Lowery. Those kind of, but they're like,
there was like 5 to
they're
10
never
where
more
I was
than
like, ooh, yeah, you know.
yeah, but they're never more than 45 seconds long. And so
never more
I
than
came
2
out-
seconds long, maybe.
right. And so I came out of this really thinking like, why even, I don't know. It was like not really a shot on Lowry, even though I do think this is kind of a, to Brian's point, like pandemic / 80% effort kind of thing. But I also kind of came out thinking like you could have gotten 96% of this movie with like just it's kind of the Ron Livingston Sprint commercial paradigm where you go,
yes.
Like, why pay David? Not that David Lowery's that expensive, but why put the prestige of someone like him on something when you could have just done it? You could have shaved something off of this and just done a very capable Disney Plus Peter Pan and
Well,
Wendy movie.
I think there's a few reasons. First would be like, I think he was super committed to shooting this on location. And I do think that made a difference.
Sure.
Maybe it's the Green Knight locations that he was at that I felt like he was inspired by. So, okay, let's just do Peter Pan here in sort of this Irish mountainside type location. I liked that. I think a lot of directors, if Disney just puts out the feelers to agencies, hey, we're doing Peter Pan, send us your directors. I think a lot of directors would say, here's my vision. We go on a green screen and here's the CGI concept art that I have already for it, you know? And that's the sale. And they're, oh yeah, great. Streamline this bad boy out. So I do think we got some true, like, I don't know, old school movie making with this movie that we might not otherwise get with some of these Disney movies, Disney remakes. So I think Lowery brought that to the table.
Yeah, I could see that. This is not like a wholly un-Lowry movie or anything like that, but I do
It's
think
70%
you're right, Richard.
Lowry. It's 70. That's how I felt.
I might lean lower than that. I think the bigger point, Richard, I don't want to speak for you, but I think this has been one of the big problems with these live action remakes that they've done is, you know, you hire Guy Ritchie's hit or miss for me, but if you hire Guy Ritchie to do Aladdin, then I expect it to kind of feel like a Guy Ritchie movie, and it did not.
Yeah.
And Tim Burton is
No, people
way
got
more
shot in the
missed than
face
hit
in
for
Aladdin.
me. But
it was super disappointing.
yeah, but if you know, again, I don't like Tim Burton really very much, especially in whatever year that was, the Dumbo movie came out. I don't remember anymore. But if you're gonna make a Tim Burton movie, then let's make it. If you're gonna hire him to do your movie, then let's make it a Tim Burton-y Dumbo movie.
Feel very by committee.
Yeah, for sure. And look, I know that's sort of the reputation with Disney with the MCU movies. I don't always get that from the MCU. I rarely get that, if I'm being honest. I think there's some real directorial touches in a lot of those movies.
Yeah, I feel like they're more like quarterly with those though. Like maybe they're not per movie, but like they'll allow a director to like set the tone for the next 5 Marvel movies.
Sure.
Or something, you know, they go, that's good. And then the rest will kind of like, no matter who's directing, will kind of fall in line with that. Whereas this just all feels kind of from the get-go a little boilerplate.
Yeah, for sure. That's just that's especially disappointing to me with this movie, just because I love David Lowery. Like, again, Guy Ritchie's not really my guy, if you will, but I respect what he does. It's just kind of hit or miss for me. David Lowery up to this point, even with a movie like Green Knight that I think in the moment I was a little bit perplexed by and wasn't quite as in on as I really wanted to be, but afterwards, especially, it was like, gosh, it's visually compelling. There's so many great elements of the Green Knight, even while feeling like it kind of left me a little bit cold. I love David Lowery, and I think he's like I said, he's capable of making truly great movies. And so for this to come out and be like to your point, Ken, I think you're right. Like, look, the location and the, some of these things definitely are, feel of, I get that, but the movie as a whole just doesn't really embrace what I think of when I think of Lowery and his movies. And so that's especially disappointing. And when you add that to, a story that I think is, what we all said is kind of tired at this point because we get 1,000 Peter Pan movies a year. It makes for an uninspiring, couple hours on screen, I think.
Let's just maybe in general say that if Steven Spielberg, quote unquote, can't do it perfectly, then maybe no one can, and we should stop trying.
Sure.
Yeah.
Like there might just be some properties, fellas, that just shouldn't, don't work as big epic live action movies, and that's fine. Let's do something else. I don't understand the Pinocchio is another example. I mean, Del Toro had a really different take on it, which is why I think it resonated. But it's another one that's just, there's something about it when you take it away from that original Disney Jiminy Cricket style, that just doesn't work, and we need to stop trying. So yeah, I think there is certainly some of that at play here. Was I on anything with Jude Law in the casting there? Would somebody else have done more for you in that role?
I don't know if we've ever talked at length about Jude Law. He's a good actor. I think I might be lower on him than consensus. He's had a lot of performances over the years. I'm like, not really. I don't really get it. I mean, he's had some very good performances too. I'm not trying to call him a hack or something. I'm not sure that he's quite the floor raiser that his reputation might.
I think he's English Ben Affleck.
Okay, that's an interesting comparison. All right,
doesn't have the directorial wrinkle, but if it's good, he's good in it. And if it's not, he's not going to make it better. He'll just sink to the level of whatever he's in. I did name my son after him because I love him that much. No,
I'm trying to remember my most memorable Jude Law performances, and it's not a lot come to mind. Maybe
Alfie, just the remake of Alfie over and over again on a loop.
Yeah, I mean Parnassus.
The last party was kind
of, and
a little bit
of Parnassus kind of resonated with me.
Mr. Ripley, he's pretty good.
Mr. Ripley, AI,
Road
maybe.
to Perdition, a long time ago. I mean,
yeah,
he's
Contagion
got 2 Oscar
was good.
noms. It's not like he's a hack. It's just
no.
He's not somebody that
King Arthur.
He's good in
2017.
Hugo.
My bad. He was the giant snake.
Yeah, he was. It was. The beginning of the giant snake universe hasn't gone anywhere yet, unfortunately. Thanks, COVID.
He's good in Hugo. He's a fine Watson, but that's meh. But he was in. The problem was from 2002 to about 2006, he was in 1,600 movies.
Right. Right.
So that was the problem too.
Yeah. Yeah. It's
The Holiday. He's great in that.
It's sort of a strange. I would put it this way: he's not somebody that when you cast him, oh yes, Jude Law. I'm always like, okay, that's fine, I guess. I mean, he is great in Hugo. You're right, and I think that he's probably, I don't know how to put that. He's a very talented guy who maybe isn't quite as talented as maybe isn't talented enough to raise material all that much, and. At least in my opinion. I thought he was fine in this. I didn't think
I don't think he raised the material at all. Imagine if that role was Robert Downey Jr. in this movie.
Yeah.
Wouldn't that just be so much more than this was?
Sure.
I feel like that role has so much potential. It's kind of got that Captain Jack Sparrow energy to it that you can really kind of take it as weird as you want to go with it. And yeah, he didn't really lean into that as much. I like the design of it though, and the Captain Hook's hook being like this rusted, fishing hook instead of this shiny thing like it was in Hook. So I thought that was a cool decision.
Yeah, I like that. I character design wise, I thought it was pretty good. And I think you can see the various inspirations for that character all combined there, and I think that worked out really well. It's just it's a fine performance. It's not really selling the movie, and the movie maybe could have used that, if we're being honest, because there's a kind of a lack of sell, I think, across the board.
Yeah, so I'm not sure what the end game here for Disney was with this one. Maybe just drive subscriptions to Disney.
Was it
Plus.
always Disney Plus, or was this late?
I think
late
probably at the
decision?
outset when Pete's Dragon did well and they said,
Yeah.
okay, start developing this, it was probably thought to be theatrically. But by the time they were ready to shoot it, it was probably a done deal that it was just going to be Disney Plus, I would imagine. But like, hey, if you still want to do this, it's going to be Disney Plus, but here's the budget. Because we promised you this thing, you've been working on it. It's an important property for us to keep relevant for exactly the reason we were talking about, public domain reasons. So, you know what, Dave, go for it. You know, that's how I kind of feel like they approach it.
And I think they want to stay in the David Lowery business, and
Right.
that's part of it too. I mean, you may have there's a world where David Lowery directs a Star Wars at some point or something like that, or at the very least, I should say, you want to keep him on the hook if you can. And
You don't want to piss him
See what
off.
you did there.
Right.
Boom, Yahtzee.
Got him. We're just killing it tonight. Yeah, I mean, it's a good idea if you have any aspiration. If you're Iger or previously Chapek, if you have any thought of like, hey, we might let this guy direct Star Wars or I don't know, an Iron Man movie or something like that, we want to keep him around. Then, hey, here's a property that he seems pretty into, and maybe it's a bit of a passion project. We'll kind of live with it. And yeah, this is what you get in. They do have to figure out this streaming or no streaming thing. I've got to believe that's like very, very high on Iger's to-do list. Like we got to figure out how this works or how it doesn't work, because it's annoying to not know. Like for us, whatever, we're relatively connected, I guess, as far as this stuff goes. But for the average movie goer or movie watcher, it's kind of annoying to not ever know for sure. Like, is it coming to Disney Plus? Do I have to go to a theater? How does this work? I still don't think we totally get how the business model of that works necessarily. And also, except for the visuals, Ken, which you're totally right about, this makes sense as a Disney Plus movie because it's kind of mid, but the back and forth with the Pixar movies and never quite knowing, I some of that's Chapek for sure, but that's something that Iger's got to get straightened out real fast, I think.
Well, in terms of what's coming up for these Disney live action adaptations, they seem to be cranking them out like a factory at this point. We've got another one coming up at the end of this month, Little Mermaid, May 26th. So we'll see how that one does. We have Snow White next March with Rachel Zegler. Then we've got Mufasa next July, Barry Jenkins.
Yeah.
I can't imagine that's good, but
Hopefully they're
Barry
letting Barry Jenkins
but
go to work on that, because, I mean, Barry Jenkins is an incredible director. I would really like for that maybe to break the streak of we're hiring big name directors and then just kind of letting them work in their sleep, I guess. I mean, I expect more from Barry Jenkins, so hopefully we're going to get a better movie than some of these others. That Little Mermaid trailer is pretty rough, guys. I don't know.
Yeah.
We're only a month
we
away,
talk
so
about,
we'll see. But oof,
right when
I
you
don't
think
know.
this one has no soul, we're about to be just beat over the head with soullessness in 3 weeks. I just can't. I don't know.
Rob Marshall was certainly a choice.
Yeah, that's the opposite of
seen
hiring a great
Chicago?
director and then just taking their stuff away.
Oscar winning, Best Picture award winning, Chicago.
If they can just bring the Memoirs of a Geisha energy to it, I think we'll be fine. We'll be good.
Yeah.
I don't know why this one has a TBA release date. I don't know why they're doing this. I mean, I do. Money. Lilo and Stitch really need what? We need to do that in live action.
It doesn't. There's been lots of there's been casting news and stuff on that. That's a pass for me personally, but I guess. We'll see what happens
It's a
when
big
Rob
one
Marshall
for
gets his hands on it.
for the young, the Zoomers out there, big Lilo and Stitch fans. I understand it, but I don't know how that one's gonna quite translate.
Austin Butler's gonna do the soundtrack, I think, for that one, and it'll be great.
Gilbert Gottfried as Stitch. No, that's too
R.I.P.
late. Too late for that.
Hologram.
Oh, we do have a Hercules movie with Guy Ritchie, which I think could be fun. Like, I think that's one.
Yeah, but just like, okay, that's great, but please just let Guy Ritchie be Guy Ritchie. I don't even like him that much, but at least he say what you will about Guy Ritchie, but at least he has an ethos. You know?
Yeah.
Sorry. Yeah, it's, I don't know. This has got to get fixed. They got to, if they're going to, at the end of the day, these are made to make money, and that's the main goal, is just to have, because Lion King made $1.5 billion, so whatever. But, and everybody who's not a movie critic liked those movies, you know? So I constantly have to kind of remind myself, like, we're in the minority on these live action Disney movies. Most general audiences, generally speaking, like them. And so it is what it is, but they, at a certain point, they got to start being good. At least
so funny
some of
that
time.
the one I'd be least, if you told me the slate of these, told me they're doing them, the best one is still the first one.
Yeah,
Cinderella.
Cinderella's great. Pete's Dragon is great, but that's a little bit of that's not quite the same thing. I think
Yeah,
the Jungle
that's
Book is
true.
probably the best one of the bunch for me.
Yeah, that's true. Jungle Book's probably the best overall, but so that one I would have expected. But it's so crazy that Cinderella is the second.
Cinderella
best.
was really good. Yeah, I really.
Yeah.
Really
In
like
hindsight, we should all go back and give that a higher grade just for
Yeah.
being competent, given what we've seen.
or a lower grade for starting the trend.
That's true. Could be that.
Yeah, I would say Alice in Wonderland 2010 kind of kicked this off, but Cinderella was certainly, I don't know, the we're all in on this, on this strategy moment. And yeah, if we had only known what was to come. Hey, I'm just getting started on these ones that are going to come out, guys. We got a Hunchback
Live action
one.
Black Cauldron, cowards. Do it. Make it happen.
I know. We've got a Hunchback movie. To me, that one's another one. Like, that could be fun. Like, that seems like easy live action, right?
Nobody wants that.
Because it was about people. I don't know.
Yeah,
Maybe I'm crazy.
it seems hard one to pull off in today's world, but
Oh, yeah, that's true. That's true.
we'll find out.
We will. Watch that one just be Best Picture.
Yeah. Brendan Fraser as the Hunchback.
Apparently, for some reason, we're getting a Brian. When you say people love these movies, they're the reason for these. When we ask why,
Yeah.
they're the
They make
reason.
tons of money.
When you ask why are we getting an untitled Cruella sequel?
Right.
It's because of you. It's because you went and saw it.
You
bought
went and
the
saw this
ticket.
movie, and
Yes.
that's what happens. Yeah. Yep. They all do well with audiences, and I guess they pay for more Star Wars movies. I don't know.
If you don't want these to keep being a thing, don't go see them.
Yeah.
It's pretty much that easy. Hit them in the wallet where it hurts the most.
Right.
Let
'em
I
know.
said that Peter Pan's most profitable character is Tink. We have a Tink movie, TBA, Tinkerbell, with Reese Witherspoon as a producer. Her production company doing it.
Like, no, I don't think.
That's going to just double down on like every, elementary school age girl and younger is going to be Tinkerbell for Halloween. Like that's going to be an easy sell. Sword in the Stone, they're doing a Robin Hood. They're doing. I don't know how they're going to do that in live action.
Yeah, this is
They've already done it 900 times.
Yeah.
A Prince Anders film from Aladdin. Why are they doing a Prince Anders film? It's
From
because
Aladdin?
of you.
No.
It's because of you.
Frozen, right? Not Aladdin, right? I don't know. Maybe
says-
I'm thinking of somebody else.
It says Aladdin here, but I guess Prince Anders. Yeah, that would. Be
Oh,
Frozen.
you're right. Yeah. Okay. I totally forgot that bit in Aladdin, because Aladdin is a super forgettable movie. Yeah.
Bambi.
That
Just
one
wait
gets
for
real
Disney
rough
to rip
real
your
fast.
kid's heart out
Uh-huh,
in the first
yeah.
scene of that.
It's just live footage.
Who gets to play the hunter that kills Bambi's mom? Billy Bob Thornton.
Bob Thornton?
Can you just see Billy Bob Thornton with like
Out of
a
the
sniper
Spears
rifle?
nonsense.
Like, dumb bastard. Can you get over here, you dumb bastard? Just dragging Bambi's mom away by the antlers. Aristocats with Questlove directing. That could be fun.
This is too many movies. This is too many. It's too many.
You guys did this. You did it. And Moana with
Thanks a lot,
Dwayne the
everybody I go to
Johnson
church
Rock
with.
starring
That one is
as his character.
That movie came out 7 years ago. Please let some things be.
You know why they're doing it? Because the well of Dwayne Johnson relevancy is going to be dry by the time it comes out, so they have to do it now. By the time the nostalgia for Dwayne Johnson comes back around on Moana,
what if they don't?
He's
cast
going to
him?
be so irrelevant.
Wouldn't that be
he
so
is.
funny?
No, he is cast in it.
No, I think there's still a chance they could pull out of that. It'll be really funny.
They're going to cast Roman Reigns.
That would be so funny. That would be the ultimate, is if he didn't even get cast in that. He did the voice and was the design for the character.
Is Maui.
Jason
No,
Momoa
he was dead.
just kills him. John Cena.
What's the Disney conference all the time? Like that they have where they announce all their movies, whatever that's called. It's just all of a sudden all the lights go out and it's just boom. Everyone's like, let's go. Moana. Boom.
Break the walls down.
They should do an Undertaker movie though, for real. Pixar.
I think they did one on Netflix.
Just come out.
No, I know, but I'm saying
sobbing
Pixar. I want the
after an Undertaker
Pixar.
movie.
Yeah, I agree. We do need a Pixar style WWE movie. I would be all in. All right, let's grade Peter Pan and Wendy out before we hit weekly recommends, fellas. I'm going to grade this one somewhere between a B- and a B. So I'm like an 82 on it, something like that. So B- for me. What about you, Brian?
Yeah, exact same. B-. This is barely fresh when I put in my Rotten Tomatoes score.
This is barely fresh for me and still is like the quintessential, besides Hook, the quintessential Peter Pan remake already.
Yeah, it's a lot
Like
better than a lot of
if
the
I have a
others.
kid and he's like, Dad, I love the Peter Pan. I want to see it. Which one should I watch next? Hook and this is what I'll show him right now.
then it's over after that. Yeah.
Yes.
This would be better though if they would have just had the Coldplay soundtrack though. That would have.
Lights go out and I can't be saved.
Somebody cut that together.
I thought the amount of shanties would bring this up at least a letter grade for you, Brian.
I'm gonna go B- as well. I was thrilled a couple times, and maybe in a theater that would have weighed heavier, but I was bored a lot too. So B-.
Yeah, I thought the Lost Boys could have been done better too.
Yeah, it feels like they're barely.
The
even
way
in
the
movie.
Hook one did, like all the forts and stuff, was so good. I would have loved to have seen like the world of the Lost Boys explored a little bit more. But let's do a movie called The Lost Boys. How about that? What about the Lost Boys? Not the vampire one.
Yeah. Okay, they're in Neverland.
Like
but they
Tinkerbell.
are
We need a
also
Tinkerbell
vampires,
movie.
so
Like
that's
I would see a Lost Boys movie. Like that'd be really sounds fun.
Yeah. I think
Let's
Hook
pitch
is
it.
a lot of that though too.
All
Hook
right,
has a lot of Lost Boys to it.
and those are the best parts.
That's true.
Do you want to make a podcast? Spotify's got a platform that lets you make one super easily, then distribute it everywhere, and even earn money all in one place for free. It's called Spotify for Podcasters, and here's how it works. Spotify for Podcasters lets you record and edit podcasts right from your phone or computer, so no matter what your setup's like, you can start creating today. Then, you can distribute your podcast to Spotify and everywhere else podcasts are heard. And video podcasts are also available on Spotify. With Spotify for Podcasters, you can earn money in a variety of ways, including ads and podcast subscriptions. Best of all, it's totally free with no catch. Ever since we started using Spotify for Podcasters on Mad About Movies, it's made it super easy to get our show posted and out to all of the Man Fam. We highly recommend you give it a try. Download the Spotify for Podcasters app or go to spotify.com/podcasters to get started. All right, let's hit a weekly recommend, fellas.
Weekly recommends.
What you got for us this week, Brian?
Yeah, I already kind of teased it. A little show It's based on a comic book series that I think Netflix first season was 2021. It's called Sweet Tooth. It's kind of a quirky, weird, post-apocalyptic kind of show. It's 10 years after some sort of plague has destroyed the world, but as a result of the plague, a lot of the children, or maybe all the children that are born as hybrids. These like half human, half animal creature things. So like the main character is like half human, half deer, and it's really weird and strange. But it's the show's got a lot of heart to it. It's really quirky and sweet and well done. And I mentioned our boy Forte is a character. He's in the pilot, and then he pops up in flashbacks throughout the course of the show. But season 2 just dropped last week. I'm about halfway through it. It's 8 episodes a season. It's a pretty easy watch. It's pretty fun and does a good job of having this like sort of it's sort of the antithesis of like The Last of Us, which is has some hope mixed into this just unrelentingly bleak world that our characters are working in. This is sort of the opposite. It's like it's a bleak world, but the kind of sweet and charm of it comes through in everything that's happening. So it's a fun watch, and hopefully the second half of season 2 doesn't disappoint. I don't have to retract this recommend when we come back in next week. But Sweet Tooth season 2 now on Netflix. No idea if it's getting picked up for a third season or if it ends on a cliffhanger or anything like that. So if it does, that's not on me.
No, it is.
I'm really enjoying it so far.
It's on you.
Okay, that's fair. That's fair too.
Richard, what you got?
Yeah, I've got a book out this week. This is definitely a Brian book, I think. It's called Look For Me There. It's by Luke Russert, who was Tim Russert's son, former Meet the Press host. So it's about kind of
late American treasure, Tim Russert.
Yeah, Tim Russert rule. It's about kind of following in his dad's footsteps and kind of suddenly quitting his job and traveling the world trying to find kind of solace in his dad's death and kind of belated grieving. Look For Me There, the title is where they would always meet at baseball games. So if we get separated, look for me there, at that spot is where we'll meet and all that. So really kind of a cool father-son memoir, even though, the father's no longer with us, even as the book starts. But yeah, it's also a great kind of travel log. Cause he literally traveled the entire world, it seems like. So it's a lot of different things, but Luke Russert's a cool guy. Kornheiser guy. So, we ride for those. And his dad was certainly a big player and kind of a really missed factor in American politics, I think. And I think you'd both enjoy it. It's definitely a big Brian recommend for sure.
For sure. I'll give that a try. That sounds good.
Love it.
Love Russert.
I am going to recommend another turn off your brain TV show, fellas. These are my favorite kinds of shows.
I need
Put
one
it on the background,
unwind
from a long day. Maybe you need, I qualify this show as kind of meditative, to be honest. It's How It's Made, fellas.
Oh, yeah.
Had this one on in the background, prepping for the draft this past week. It was the most soothing experience to watch factories making products. And it was like borderline ASMR, like serotonin hit with it. So if you ever, want something soothing to take your mind off things, well, How It's Made. Check that out. Science Channel for you.
Nice.
Just watch some, some eyeglasses being shaped, with a machine, or maybe some ceramic tiles being poured. It's very soothing. Love it.
Nice.
How It's Made. And the narration, guys. I want that job. Then they pour it into the extruder. Classic. All right. Hey, one thing I want to do before we get out of here. I mentioned it off the top, the Mount Rushmore of MAM directors. I have my own list of who that would be. And Lowery's on it. Who do you think would be the MAM Mount Rushmore of directors?
I would say best Dave Chappelle as Dylon.
Lowry,
impression
Lowry,
of
and Lowry.
I would say Lettier,
Yeah.
Lettier, because he shoots on fire.
Mm-hmm.
You're saying this about a man who's literally about to ruin Fast during the last
Or
movie.
make it great. Again. Yes.
The odds that one's the worst one are like
Pretty
very
high.
high at this point. Yeah.
Pretty high. But the spinning camera might add to the whatever they're doing.
Yeah, you put that thing on a charger. Who knows what
Right.
could happen?
Yeah. What about spinning camera on a Pontiac in space? You telling me that wouldn't be better? Might be. Could be better. Yeah.
My list, tell me if you disagree, is Lowry, Chloe, Gerwig, and Denny. I feel like those are the like the ones
The
we've
collective between
discovered
the four of us?
and kind of championed
Okay.
from the outset that we can claim, essentially.
Okay. Yeah, I can go with that. So you're saying we could not have claimed Spielberg or Fincher or Scorsese?
We can,
'Cause
but
they
I
made
feel
all
like
the
we
movies
might
with
have
us.
some cease and desists coming our way if they went back and look at the evidence and the record.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a pretty good list. I like that. Yeah, maybe
great- it's a great
Giselle's in there
amount.
somewhere.
Who?
Yeah, Chazelle.
Yeah, your guy.
Giselle? Yeah, maybe.
Yeah.
We were pretty in on Giselle. I feel like Denny from the outset when we reviewed Prisoners, we were all like, just wait for this guy. Just wait. Like we could all sense that this guy was going to be somebody to be reckoned with.
Sure.
We're right so far, so we'll take that. Speaking of, Dune trailer dropped today, Brian. Did you watch it? Or it's going to
I
drop
haven't
tomorrow?
seen it yet. There's only a teaser today. I think the trailer comes tomorrow. I've gotten
Right.
to where I don't watch trailers anymore unless if I'm in the theater, I don't. It's not like I run out like, no, I haven't seen this yet. But I don't. I'll make exceptions for like a Star Wars trailer, but for the most part, I don't seek them out unless our friend Tanner cut the trailer. Then I will to support her. But otherwise, I just kind of let it pop up in the theater generally. And I'm like, oh, cool, this looks awesome, rather than seek it out beforehand. Because I'm going to see it 1,000 times anyway, So especially if it gets picked up on if Dune is the official movie of the NBA in November, I'll see that trailer 4 billion times like I saw the
Evil Dead.
freaking Evil Dead Rise trailer 1 billion times over the last couple of weeks. That was a terrible experience. Did not enjoy.
The irony of the official movie of the NBA being called Evil Dead Rise is so funny.
I hate it. It's about David Stern, I guess. So,
Yes.
but yeah,
How dare you? He's missed, and you know it.
I know it. I know. Just be
We
like,
were
Donald Stern.
Tough
is
L
less
for
more
us.
big fan.
come back, but be just a little less racist. That's all.
tough L for us in 2000s, 90s, and 2000s.
We were so excited
Yeah.
for Adam Silver, and look where we are now. You're up
All
next,
right.
Mark
Three's
Tatum.
More conversation coming from us this week in the VIP feed. So we're headed to the after party there. Join us at madaboutmoviespodcast.com/VIP. Thanks for being here. And we'll be back next week with Guardians Talk here on Mad About Movies. We love you. See you at the cinema.
Hey, baby, I hear the blues are calling. Tossed salads and scrambled eggs. And maybe I seem a bit confused. Yeah, maybe, but I got you pegged. But I don't know what to do with those tossed salads and scrambled eggs. They're calling again. Scrambled eggs all over my face.
They're making me yah-yah. The salads and scrambled eggs.
They're calling again.